Welcome to the Granny Square series. This video you can learn how to make this lovely little square, which is very similar to this adorable little square here. It's not quite the same but similar, so when they're all together they mix in nicely and give that cottagey effect. So I'm going to be using DK yarn. I'm using this Moonstone yarn with a 4mm hook. Let's get started. To begin, I am making a double magic circle and chain one. For round one, we are going to make 12 US doubles. If you're using UK terms, that's UK trebles. So to make my first stitch, my starting stitch, you can do that however you like. If you like to chain two and use that as your first stitch, go ahead and do that. I'm going to make a US single, that's a UK double, and then chain one, and I'm going to count that as my first stitch. I'm then going to make 11 more stitches so that we have 12 in total. Yeah, so that's 11 either US doubles or UK trebles. So if you're making along, you can press pause and I'll see you at the end of the round. So I've made 11 stitches, including that first stitch, so I've still got my last stitch to go. So I'm going to yarn over and go in, pull the yarn through as normal, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Yeah, I'm going to leave those 2 loops on the hook, and I'm going to pull my circle tight. So find your tail end and just give that a little pull. See which loop tightens first. Yeah, and pull on the loop that started to tighten up. Pull that all the way till you close your circle. Yeah, keep those 2 loops on the hook. We're then going to pull that tail to close up the other circle. And then what I'm going to do, pull that tail to the front. We're then going to take that behind before we finish the stitch so that we weave it in. Yeah, so we're then going to finish the stitch. We've already closed the circle, and we're going to slip stitch across to not the starting stitch we made, but that first full stitch. And that slip stitch is going to count as the top of our starting stitch. Yeah, so then chain one. And that's how your work should look at the end of round one. For round two, we're going to alternate between puff stitches and popcorn stitches with a chain one space between each stitch. Yeah, so I'm going to start with a puff stitch. So I'm going to pull that chain up to the height of a puff stitch, yarn over. We're going to do 3 loop puff stitches. Yeah, go into the stitch, pull the yarn through, pull it up to the height of a US double, yarn over, go into the stitch, pull through, oops, I dropped it, second time, and then a third time. Yeah, you should have 7 loops on your hook, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, yeah. Yarn over and pull through all 7 loops. I give it a little wiggle as I go through, and then chain one. Yeah, now we're going to make a popcorn stitch. We're going to use 4 stitches to make the popcorn stitch. That's 4 US doubles or UK trebles. So into that, the next stitch, we're going to make our 4 stitches. Yeah, after you've made your 4 stitches, make that loop big, take your hook out, put your hook into the first of those 4 stitches, take hold of the yarn and pull that through, yeah, pinch them and then chain 1. And that's our repeat. So we're going to go all the way round like that. If you find it's too tight, add a chain space after your puff stitch, yeah, another chain, and see how that goes. So carry on all the way round to the end, and I'll see you at the end of the round. So at the end of the round, I've made a popcorn, I've chained 1, and now I'm going to slip stitch into the first puff stitch to join, yeah, and then slip stitch across into the chain 1 space between the 2 stitches and chain 1, and that's how it should look at the end of round 2. So for round 3, we are going to make 3 single crochets into each of these chain 1 spaces, yeah. So we're in the first one, yeah, we've chained 1. We're just going to make 1 stitch, and then we're going to hop straight across to the next chain 1 space, and we're going to make 3 stitches in there, yeah, and then hop across to the next chain 1 space, make 3 stitches in there, all the way around, yeah, keep hopping across, 3 stitches. So if you're making along, you can press pause, and I'll see you at the end of the round. So I'm back to the, well, near the beginning. I've just made 3 stitches in that chain 1 space, and now I'm back to this first chain 1 space. So we made 1 stitch, we had a chain and 1 stitch. We're going to count that chain as the first stitch. So we're just going to go in and make 1 stitch, yeah, and then we're going to slip stitch across to that very first stitch we made. And again, that slip stitch now over the top of the chain looks like the first stitch top, yeah. So that's how your work should look at the end of round 3. So round 4 is just a slip stitch and chain round. We want to go in between, we want to go at the top of these stitches, yeah, so in between the last stitch and the first stitch of each group. It might be easier just to go into that first stitch, yeah, so we'll slip stitch across, and then we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to slip stitch to the top of the next stitch, yeah. So it's basically skip 2, slip stitch, yeah. And again, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to go again above the next popcorn now, and slip stitch, 1, 2, 3. Now it's above that puff stitch, slip stitch, and we're going to go all the way around, 1, 2, 3 chains, and then slip stitch. Yeah, it looks pretty, doesn't it? So if you're making along, you can press pause, and I'll see you at the end of the round. So at the end of the round, I've made my chain 3, and I'm now going to slip stitch into the same space we started the round, yeah. We're then going to slip stitch into the chain 3 space and chain 1, And that's how your work should look at the end of round 4. Round 5, we're going to turn our circles into squares now. So we've slip stitched and chained 1 into one of those chain 3 spaces, and we're going to be working in all these chain 3 spaces for this round. Yeah. So in that first chain 3 space, we've chained 1. We're now going to make 2 half double crochets if you're using US terms, or half treble crochets if you're using UK terms, but it's the half stitch. Yeah, so we're going to make 2 of those into that chain 3 space. We're now going to hop across, and this is going to be our corner now. We're going to make 2 US doubles, UK trebles. Yeah, we're then going to make a US treble or a UK double treble. Chain 2, and then into that same space we're going to make a US treble. That's a UK double treble. We're going to make 2 US doubles, UK trebles. We're then going to hop across. We're going to make 2 half stitches. So if that's so US terms, that's half doubles. UK, it's half trebles. And then we're going to make 1 US single, UK double into that same space. We're now going to hop across into the next space. We're going to make 1 US single. And that's our full repeat, yeah, because that's where we started. We didn't actually make that single there. We're going to do that when we go back round. So we're now going to make 2 half stitches. And we're at the next corner. So we're going to make 2 US doubles, UK trebles. We're going to make a US treble, UK double treble. Chain 2. We're then going to make another US treble, UK double treble into that same space. Make 2 US doubles, UK trebles again into that same space. And that's our second corner complete. Into the next space, we're going to make 2 half stitches. And then a little stitch, a US single, UK double. And that's half our square made. So we're going to carry on going around all the way. If you're making along, you can press pause, and I'll see you at the end of the round. So at the end of the round, I'm actually going to count that chain 1 we made at the beginning as my first stitch, and I'm just going to slip stitch across into that first half stitch we made. And there we go, the end of the round, end of the square. I hope you've enjoyed that tutorial. If you've got any questions, you can leave them in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video.